How's it going, guys? My name is TIMBUH. I'm going to be doing a music production series, basically teaching you guys how to mix and master, how to do music theory, how to arrange, how to basically just make music, but also having fun and explaining it in very simple terms. Let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to be talking about audio effects today. Like, let's say you just opened Ableton. You're like, I want to get started, but I have literally no idea what to do. So this is going to be one chapter in the series, and this is going to be audio effects. I want to start off with that. Let's talk about some of the most important audio effects that you're going to be using pretty much on a daily basis in your sessions. EQ8, and I'll actually go into EQ3 in a little bit, but let's go ahead and talk about EQ8 and just load it up right here. Imagine your sound is in this spectrum, right? So we're in this EQ. So we're going to be mangling this sound throughout how you want it to sound, how you want it to fit in your mix, because with music making, think of it like an elevator. One or two people get in the elevator, no problem. There's lots of space, it's all good. There's not a lot of stress on the bearings for the elevator to lift. But let's say this is our elevator and we stick, 10 people, 12 people. It gets quite crowded when you keep it, very open. But throughout time, you'll learn how to make your sound design and how to fit things in your mix by, for example, cutting out the lows or the mids or the mid-highs or the highs or the high-highs. We'll go into all of that, and I'll definitely explain what types of sounds you're going to kind of need, what types of EQ. So EQ is very important. Let's go off to the next one, compression. Now, compression is probably one of the most important things that we're going to be talking about too, because it's so vital to the genre and to just commercial music in general. Commercial music, your favorite songs, the ones that are on hit charts, they're compressed very well. They're not overly compressed. Some are, actually, like especially rap, hip-hop beats. They're overly distorting the subs, and I think that's kind of becoming like a hallmark in the genre. So let's go ahead and talk about this compressor. So I'm an old cat. I started off with Ableton a long time ago, so we're going to stick with the regular view. So how you're going to do that, you're in this view, you're going to click this one right here. So I like talking about compressor because I kind of came up with an analogy of how I describe this. Now, okay, let's look at a compressor. Out, I like to call it mom, because your mom is always going to be trying to keep your voice down or keep your volume down, especially when you're younger and you're still living with your mother or something like that. So your mom is going to dictate how loud you're going to be, because if you go a certain peak, if you go a certain loudness, she's going to tell you to shut up. She's going to tell you to turn down. So usually you're going to be keeping this at 0, but stylistically, I've had tracks where I'll have my entire group compressed at -2, but I'll keep the drums at 0, and I'll go over drums in one of my other episodes. Now, so we're going to be usually keeping this at 0. Now, threshold is really important, because threshold, is going to raise the sound, raise the lowness of your sound to meet like a medium level, like a balanced level. If you ever seen waveforms and you see that they're very balanced in the terms of their peaks are all the same, it's a very thick waveform, that's a very well compressed track. So what this is doing is bringing up those low ends. So when we sing, for example, very bad singing, by the way, but those low parts, they're going to be lifted up, because we're telling the threshold to lift up those parts. And now the parts that go, it's too loud, that's mom going to tell you, hey, keep it down. So mom is not going to let you go past your 0 dB, but it is going to turn up. Mom is allowing you to be louder when you don't have to be quiet. That's the best way I can put it. So, compression, extremely pivotal, and a simplistic way of going about that. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is reverb. Reverb, once again, another pivotal thing. Reverb is going to add certain space to your track. Now, reverb is especially amazing on like vocals, especially in genres that are not just like bass music. It adds a sense of lush, a sense of space, and we gotta really remember that your song, and same thing with that elevator analogy, is like you're in a closed space per se with your song. You can't just like let everything go. So reverb is going to be more of a tool, because reverb can really kill your mix, can kill your mix very fast if you're not careful with it. That's why, and this is going to be another episode of mine, I use reverb a lot on return tracks. Now this is goated. This is really, really goated, and I'll go into this later. All right, now the fourth thing that I do want to talk about is going to be Saturator. So let's go ahead and pull up a Saturator. Now, Saturator works a little bit like compression and EQing, but it's not compression and EQing. It just works in similar ways. So Saturator, in a simple sense, is going to introduce new harmonics. So it's going to beefing up your range in that EQ we're talking about once again. So for example, let's say you have a sound that's only in this area, right? It's very unorthodox of a sound, but this is the only area. What Saturator is going to do, once I turn this on and start to do that, it's going to make new harmonics introduced. So it's going to actually add things outside of that. So Saturator is really important because it regards perceived loudness, and this is going to be very pivotal in how you make a good mix, how you make a mix that stands out even when it's quiet. So those four things I definitely wanted to go in for this little mini episode, and I'll kind of go into more things once I get a little better understanding of how I want my episodes to go. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate y'all.